It's always so quiet at this stage.
I don't know. We're doing. I'm going to admit all because I don't know if we actually. There they come. I think Barb's keeping an eye on as people join. Okay. If we could just ask that everybody please put their computers on mute, that would be awesome. Thanks. So welcome to our session on branding with Benny Bing. We're super excited to have him. And I just wanted to, I'm Kate Taylor, the chair of the organization, and we have with us Nicole and Stephanie and Gail and Kim, who are part of the education team, and Judy, as well as a couple of the other people from the board. So I just want to thank everybody for coming out, and also, especially to you, Nicole, to kind of make this connection, because we're super excited about this. So today we are going to have all of our questions and answers at the end. So this will be a very kind of open format. We will try and answer some of the questions in the chat if they're ones that can be answered. And if there were specific ones for Benny, then we're going to do that at the end. We're going to try and finish his session by 8 o'clock and then have a little bit of time for the Q&A. So keep that in mind. Kim, would you like to do the land acknowledgement for us, please?
Sure. The Artists Network and the Leslie Grove Gallery acknowledge the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat peoples. These territories are the enduring home to many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit peoples from across Turtle Island. We also acknowledge that we are hosted on land covered by Treaty 13, held by the Mississaugas of the Credit. Toronto is bound by the Dish with One Spoon Covenant, which bound the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee peoples to peacefully share and protect the lands of the Great Lakes. In the spirit of this covenant, we are grateful to be able to meet, create, and grow together in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect on this ancestral land.
Thank you. So today we're going to be talking about branding. So fundamentally, branding is the act of connecting a product with a particular name, symbol, or feature. And I know that we've done these sessions in the past, and a lot of artists feel that branding is kind of a bit of a dirty word. There's a concept, I think, that's still taught, unfortunately, within schools, that to sort of sell and to continue selling your work is synonymous with selling out. And I just wanted to sort of, Benny will talk about how he is able to build his brand in a very authentic way. And if you look back at the actual definition of branding, it's really connecting the product, which is your art, which you produce, which is very authentic, with a particular name, which is you. And within the context of making that recognizable, a consistent story, which really is kind of your artist statement. So I want you to kind of make sure you kind of stay open-minded when some of these terms are talking about marketing and stuff, because I think we can learn a tremendous amount from Benny. He's been really successful in doing the art that is important to him, that's authentic to him, but also connecting with brands that also represent that authenticity. And I'm going to pass it over to Nicole, and we look forward to hearing what he has to say. I'm super excited.
Hello, everyone. So Benny, we'll start with your story. So how did you get started? Did you go to school? Let's hear all the details.
Thanks, Nicole. First, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Thanks for having me provide this seminar on branding. My story. Before I begin, I just want to say that I'm going to share what is true to me, what has worked for me, and I hope that everyone listening can get some knowledge and can take away some information from this seminar today. To begin, my story. My story is a very interesting one because I won't say stumbled upon it, but I believe fate had it the right time for me to begin art. I discovered my talent in 2015. Actually, originally, 2014 Christmas, my mother-in-law bought me acrylic paint as a gift. Now, mind you, I've never painted before. Um, never picked up a brush, never played with paint. However, I have sketched, but as a kid. My father is a creative himself, is a photographer. So I did grow up in a creative home. However, I was raised in Nigeria, and we're very much academics. We don't really focus on arts as much. So I went through the traditional route of studying political science, and which I still love to today, and marketing. And I actually worked in a marketing firm, small boutique firm, as a senior account manager. But 2014 Christmas, my mother-in-law bought me acrylic paint. I decided I would use it and see what I can create. And the first time I picked up a brush was February 2015, and my life changed from that moment. I painted my first painting. I will never forget. It was Super Bowl night. We were home, my wife and I had nothing to do. So I picked up the brush and I bought a small canvas. I think it was probably either 10 by 10 or something like that. It was really small canvas. And I started creating. And I did what was true to me, which is faces and portraits is something I've always been fascinated about, and I'm pretty good at sketching faces. So I did what came natural, but I just kept on practicing and practicing, and it became a hobby that I love to do after work. And over time, I started sharing it on social media. This is before my 20-something thousand followers or the network that I've acquired over the years. And my friends and colleagues were, wow, this is quite interesting. I didn't know you paint. And I also said, I didn't know I painted. And it's something I've discovered. And I just kept on working at it. And it was also very soothing for me. And I started to find myself within the work. And at that moment, I kind of realized that this is something that I was really good at, and I should double down on it and really focus on it. So I decided that I would make this more of a second job per se, to just focus on and develop my skills and build my skills, keep trying, keep building it, and learn. So I found two mentors who were kind enough to take me under the wing to teach me the ropes, lots of YouTube videos. And over time, there were some artists that I was very intrigued by their work, specifically Voca and Nelly Francois. These are European artists that use a lot of color in their work. So I decided I wanted to use all the colors within this little gift that I was given. So I just kept on building this palette and just growing upon that. And over time, I started, with talks with my mentor, I started to realize I needed a voice. I needed to create in my own way and to express myself and be authentic and let my creativity shine in my work. And over time, I just developed my own color palette, colors that spoke to me, and colors that also were very catchy. Sometimes you kind of call them advertising colors, or colors that grab people's attention. And those are the colors that I use to develop my very popular color palette that people have become accustomed to in my earlier work. And over time, I decided this was something I was meant to do. And I quit my job and I dove headfirst into the art. But one thing about me is when I enter a new industry, I have to research it, understand exactly how can I be successful at what I do, but at the same time really enjoy it. And I took some of the lessons that I learned in my job as a marketer and digital marketing expert into my art business, and allow that to translate in terms of sales and in terms of marketing myself out to the public, which we'll get into more deeper later down. And over time, I've built this wonderful art practice. To this day, I'm quite shocked at where I am right now, but I'm humbled by the love, the respect and admiration from my supporters and the community that I cater to.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was cool to see you like from when I met you, because I met you all the way back. I think it was in 2015, and just like
That's right.
grow like crazy from then on. So it's been fun to watch, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah. So one of the next questions is, you just started out painting, doing like whatever you found fun. When did you start to think about your core values and attributes that you wanted your brand to express?
That started around 2016 January. The earlier collection, I'm sure, if you remember, and for those who might not be aware of my work, my earlier works were focused on Black iconic figures. So Michael Jackson, Nina Simone, Nelson Mandela, and it was great painting well-known faces. However, there was not really a theme or a message or anything that I felt. The work was, for me, it wasn't satisfying. There was nothing that I was getting out from it. It was just being able to express myself creatively, which I think was good and which was needed at the time. But however, that changed in 2016 January when I decided that my work needs to have a clear, consistent message and a theme. And one thing I knew I was good at was painting women, specifically Black women. And I started looking into studying more into contemporary art, and I started realizing there are not that many people telling our stories and painting the beauty in Black women. And so this is something that I wanted to fill that void and tell our stories and share the beauty in who we are as people. So I decided to focus, and also this is also mainly because this is what I was really good at. And I remember listening to a podcast, and the lady mentioned, she said, one thing artists, when they start now should do is focus on what you're really good at, and then double down on that. And then of course you can learn other things, but really focus on what you're good at. So I decided to focus on that and really build upon it, which it was the right move to make because it just caught on like wildfire. People started responding. In large numbers. There was the huge traffic to my website, the huge traffic to my social media pages once that transition happened. And it was a very positive response with a lot of young women actually telling me how they saw themselves represented and how it was important to see themselves in art. And I felt like that's when I knew exactly that this was what I was meant to do. But more specifically, I think it happened after my second show I had at Daniel Spectrum here in Regent Park. There was a little girl in the neighborhood that came by, and her mother said that she wanted to make sure that she showed her and she introduced her to art in the community. And they just happened to come by Daniel Spectrum, and they noticed the show was on. And she found out I was here, wanted to meet me and introduce her daughter to me. I think the girl was probably about 9 or 10. And she was just smiling. I asked her, which is your favorite? And she said, they all are, because I see myself. And at that point, that really hit me. And I said, this is why I need to keep doing what I'm doing. So that young girls can really see themselves and represented and feel a sense of pride and high self-esteem. And it really changed the way I decided to create. And that was the moment where I started to develop and really have the 3 core values in my practice, which is allyship and authenticity and providing value.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it sounds like once you kind of niche down and focused on one thing, that's where your brand really started to grow, right?
That's correct.
That's awesome. So what are some of the benefits you've seen coming from personal branding?
So couple of things. One of them I would say is people recognize my work without even seeing my signature, my name, or anything attached to it. And sometimes people see other people's work that kind of looks like my work and go, "Is that a Benny Bing?" And I go, "No, that's not mine." But that's where I started realizing that building a brand and having a consistent theme and message and color palette or style in general it really stands out and people recognize that, and that translates in general to revenue. And of course, that's one of the most important things is once you have a clear, consistent brand, you start to see an increase and uptick in your revenue and exposure. So one thing I come from a business mindset. I'm a creative, but of course, also a business person. And what I've noticed being in the art world for this short period of time is there's an important, and we live in a great time where you can actually be both. Prior to the internet, now you can actually be both the gallery and the artist. So the most important thing is being an artist and being creative is one thing, but you also have to be an artist who's a business person because there's a business side to it. And really focusing on how do you generate income and increase that income year after year. Because at the end of the day, you have to grow your business as an artist. And branding is a huge part of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. So if you were to put a percentage on how much of your career you credit to your art and how much you credit to branding, what would you say that ratio would be?
Oh, wow.
Sorry, I kind of threw you for
no, totally fine. I mean, I would say it's about a 60-40, 60 my art and about 40 my brand. Because branding for me is not just my signature, my logo, or the way my work looks. Branding goes far deeper than that. It also goes into the human interaction and the customer service. It goes into the quality of my work and the quality of what I post, not quantity. Being authentic. All these different things are all part of the brand itself. And that translates, right? So things like, if you don't respond to an email within 24 hours, that affects the way people look at you, right? Marty Newman, who's a wonderful marketer, had this saying that branding is the gut feeling people have about your product, your service, or your company, right? And so if you might be a great artist, you might have a wonderful painting people want to buy, but if you are not responding or have a lack of customer service, or you're not the same person that you may seem online in person, these things translate into your business. People don't want to work with you. People don't want to collaborate with you. So all these things are part of it. So when I say 60-40, branding has a good part to play in it. But of course, my work is the driving force behind that.
Totally. And one thing that really stood out to me about you, I remember we did a show together at Blank Canvas Gallery, and that's where I saw your work for the first time. And then I messaged you and I was like, "Hey, love your work." And you were like, "Oh, thanks." And the next day was the Riverdale Art Walk, and you actually came out and supported the Riverdale Art Walk. So I thought that was really cool that you did that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's important to support the community, and it's important to be out there, and yeah, to be out there. That's important.
Yeah, so that kind of leads into the next question is how important do you feel networking is and showing up when it comes to furthering your career and your brand?
Networking is very important. It's because reality is also who you know and where you are. There's a good part of that has to do with success. Is that some people call it luck. Some people are religious, they call it blessings from a higher being. There's a good part of it that it's right place, right time. And if you're not out there, you're missing out on a lot of connections that can be made. And networking and also supporting the community. I think that's a huge part of it. Is not just networking, but also how are you supporting other creatives within the creative community that you're in? That is huge. And I know this for a fact, and I'll speak from the Black creative community in Toronto. Unfortunately, we're seeing a change now, but there's been, people don't want to, not, they want to keep the knowledge to themselves. They don't want to mentor. And I think it's important that we help each other and we grow as a community. That's what a community is. So being out there, showing support, and being your true self. I think those are the key things that, and also being a nice person. I can't stress this. I can't stress this further. Humility and kindness goes a long way. It goes a long way. I do my best. It's very hard. I do my best to be humble. It is something that each day I work at and I try to be, and I try to be kind to other just people and other artists, and understand that when I was coming up, when I was discovering my path and my way, which I still am, a lot of people helped me along the way, and I should that's something that I should return that favor to others, which I do. And I think that's important that we do that to other artists in the community, no matter what gender, race, sexual orientation they are. We support each other.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. Because you meet some artists and they have great work, but then they're just not the nicest people. And it's kind of like, do I really want to buy this piece, or do I want to support someone who's like a little bit nicer, a little bit more fun?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. People go by energy, right? And that's why I say, I always go, I never forget that saying, it's the gut feeling. When people meet you, the energy that that comes out is very important. And that's part of your brand, how you are in person. And this has nothing to do whether or not you're an introvert or an extrovert, but it's just about how you interact with potential customers, potential collectors. They want to know who you are as a person also. They not just buying into the work, they buying into you and their belief in you. Because when they believe in you, they become what I call super collectors and super supporters. That is, they go and they start becoming ambassadors and start to tell people about you. I was just in a conversation with a friend yesterday. I haven't spoken to in almost 9 months, and we're talking about. He said he met a couple that are huge fans of mine, and how the man has a picture of my painting on his phone as a screensaver. And he was just so excited that he owns one of my pieces. And I know who the exact individual he was talking about the moment he mentioned his name. And these are the type of collectors and supporters that you want. People that will literally be ambassadors of you and your work and your brand. And that brings you more collectors and more clients down the line. And also sometimes it also brings you potential relationship partnerships and business opportunities that you would least expect. And for me, I would say a good amount of the collaborations that I've done have come from that exact type of engagement.
Totally. That's awesome. And like, how would you, I guess this is kind of a hard question to answer, but how would you kind of find, I guess you kind of answered it too at the same time by being like authentic, being kind, but how do you feel like you've like found these people and got these people to stick around?
So I started off doing art fairs. So, art fairs like the Riverdale Art Walk. I did a couple of, here in Toronto, also on the West End, on the West End. So, being out there and exposing yourself, meeting new people, but also I would say I just drew a blank right now. I apologize. Sorry, repeat the question again.
No worries. So like, how did you get like these people that follow you and are like diehards, love your work, promote your work to everyone? How do you feel like you got those people hooked and interested?
Sorry, thank you. So art
problem.
fairs, shows, your individual art shows, but also social media. A good bulk of my supporters, collectors have all been from mostly social media. What I've done, I focus on 2 social media platforms, and then I really concentrate on those 2. One for content and another one for engagement. But you really have to find what works for you. So for me, Pinterest and Instagram have worked very well, and those are the 2 that I double down on. But also my website is the third entity that everything links back to that. So I'm able to track based on analytics where my clients are coming from, who my clients are, and how can I cater to these clients. So, where are they located? Where are majority of my buyers coming from? And also things like, how you communicate with these buyers is key. People remember good customer service and good interactions. So every single message I get on social, I personally respond to. If I can't, my assistant responds to it and forwards it to me. Every single message. This way, nobody is falling through the cracks, except it's spam. But every single message I respond to, which is why when sometimes I message somebody and I notice that they don't respond, that literally puts a bad taste in my mouth. And then I ask myself, do I really want to do business with this person? So it's very important that you try to respond to every single message, because anybody can be a client. And I think it's the way that it's really about your attitude also towards your work, towards your business, towards your craft, towards your art practice. That also, translates and converts these people into super supporters.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. It's definitely like engaging with people, keeping that like friendship there.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. And so now would you find, so you started out doing art fairs. Would you say that now most of your business and branding you do online and you do most of your sales online, or how has that kind of changed over the years?
So 100% of my sales are all online.
Really?
Everything. Yeah. Everything's 100% online. Majority of my collector base is actually in the US. So it's more like the US, Canada, and then Europe. Those are the 3 main sectors and demographics for me. And what I decided to do is, figure out where in the US are these clients located, and are the supporters and the visitors to my website, where are they located, and how do I focus on targeting those areas? So one specific area is New York City, another is Atlanta. So targeting ads in those specific areas or doing shows in those specific areas increases the exposure, because the clients that are in those areas will come out to shows and will bring their friends or bring colleagues and bring other people that become clients. So really looking at analytics and being able to really read the analytics on your website. So I think one amazing tool every single artist you have connected to their website is Google Analytics. It allows you to kind of look at the data and say, okay, who's come to my website? What are they looking at? How long are they spending? And what can I do to improve the experience so I can target them? Or what is actually pushing them away from my website? Or, why are they abandoning the cart and not purchasing? All these different things are things I think every single artist should be thinking about when it comes to the business in order to translate that into revenue. Analytics is huge. For me, it's something I look at every single month. I take one specific day on the 13th of every month to go through the data and say, okay, so, what has happened so far? How can I improve it moving forward? Or what does the data look like? And what am I going to then use that information for in order to plan what my strategic plan is going to be for the rest of the year or for that year in general.
Right.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just curious, can you give us a more specific example of how you use that data on the 13th of the month?
Absolutely. So I go from the 13th of the last 30 days, specifically from the 13th, which allows me to make choices and decisions mid-month to see how I can increase, the sales of that specific month. So I look at things like where are majority of the clients that have now visited the website in the last 30 days or in the last 15 days, where they're coming from, and how can I cater more to that area? Or if there's an increase in this area, where is that coming from? Is it an article? What exactly is the upticks in traffic and visits to the website? And how can I now use that to my advantage? So if you notice, oh, I did a podcast and you were expecting a certain amount of traffic and it didn't happen, but there was an article that was written on the website showcasing your work, but you noticed that had a huge spike. That's a lot of people coming from one specific place. Now, how do you now continue that relationship with that website to bring more people to your site? But also, okay, the cart was abandoned. Why did that happen? Or what specifically on the website is deterring people? It could be, one perfect example is, are they going directly from the homepage or are they going to a print page? And if they have to go through multiple pages to get to the page where they want to buy, that becomes a problem. So instead of having your website main page listed on, say, social media, have it directly go to your print page. You want to take them directly to the page where they can buy, because you want to reduce the amount of time people are looking for something. You want to put it right there in their face. And sometimes, people would make different choices. Oh, I don't want to get this right now, but I'll get it later. Now, if you have the ability to remind people that, oh, you abandoned this cart, or you have some, orders in a cart, would you like to complete it? I would say that you get that service on your website. That's something that's key, where it reminds the client, hey, you were about to purchase this, because it could just be someone just went blank, like I just did not so long ago, and get distracted and go do something else, and they completely forget. So a good reminder, as some people have it on their website. I get it all the time. Oh, hey, you forgot to finish shopping. Or it could be, I want to do a show in the US, and is this a good idea for me? Because I got an email to do a show in Miami. Well, how many clients do you have in Miami, and how much traffic is coming from Miami? If it's minimal, then you have to really make a good decision. Is that a better decision to do there? Or, is there a different city I can do that in where an opportunity like this can arise? So using that data to understand, also understanding, who are you talking to? Who are your audience? We think this is our audience. However, who's visiting your site? How old are they? Are they male? Are they female? There are all these different details you can literally get from Google Analytics. And it allows you to then now cater to those people when you are deciding to buy ads or do any kind of marketing, paid marketing. Because sometimes I do see some artists that would do paid marketing and just throw $500 at the wall and hoping that something comes out from it. But if you actually know what you're trying to target, and are very careful how you target to that audience, and what you can actually save yourself money and get better returns.
So is the Google Analytics, is that like a big cost for you yearly? Or I'm sure a lot of people are wondering about that. Or does it come with a website provider?
No, it's free. You can just sign up for it, and connected to your website, and it kind of pulls that information. Now, there's, of course, you can pay for additional services if you need more information, in-depth information, for sure. But once you're starting off, you don't need to pay for that. Get the basic service that allows you just to read the analytics of your website. If you use that, there's some providers, I think Shopify does this, Squarespace does this. They provide you with their own analytics that allows you to, look at information where it's coming from. Use that information that is readily available before you pay for anything. I believe in free before you pay. So if you can if you can get it for free first, do that before you pay for anything.
Cool. That's good to know. Because yeah, for some reason, I always thought you had to pay for Google Analytics on a website, but I guess I'll run and go and sign up for that now after this seminar.
Yeah, and I would say some people might be overwhelmed by the idea of reading statistics and numbers and all that information. But if you take some time, and there are a lot of free videos on YouTube that can give you a tutorial 101 on how to read Google Analytics and information you need. And this would definitely help you. So I would advise, if you might be overwhelmed by some of this information, go online. There are some free videos you can watch to explain how Google Analytics works and the information you need to get from it. And that can help you slowly take control of that information to increase traffic to your website or to your business.
Cool. That's awesome. Thanks for that tip. So we'll talk a little bit now about competitor research and just research in general. I know you're a big research guy. So how do you distinguish your competitors, and what did you do to study them?
So I might be a little bit blunt when I say this. I don't consider I have any competitors. And I say this because we're all creatives, and I believe that there's a slice for everybody. You can learn from other people. Even if the person's painting the same, as everyone can paint a portrait. There are a dozen portrait artists out there. There are a dozen portrait artists that are painting Black women like I do. I don't see them as competitors. I see them as people I can probably learn from and what they're doing. Because at the end of the day, art should be fun, we should be creative and not worry about who our competition is, because we tend to get lost in this day and age, especially with social media, with comparison. We start to compare ourselves to others and other artists. And I think it's important for artists to know that this is a journey. It's not a sprint. And there is enough cake for everybody, if you want to put it that way. It's great to see what other people are doing and seeing how that's working, and probably try and see how that can work for you. Absolutely. So if you want to call that, competitor research, absolutely, sure. But I think the moment you start to look at it as I have competition, you start to focus heavily on how do I beat my competition. So it's more, it's no longer a creative practice. It becomes a competition. And at that point, I think we start to lose our creativity, because I see this all the time. People go on social and they go, "Oh my gosh, I am not a great artist," because there are a dozen other artists that are better than me. And the fact of it is, that's not true. I think everyone is a great creative artist in their own way. We express ourselves differently creatively. There's a customer for every single artist out there. The question is, are you patient enough to find that client and to build upon your practice? That's the way I look at it. And that's why I limit how much social media I take in also, because I find it sometimes can be demotivating to my creative side. I'm very happy to see other creatives that might be doing the same thing I'm doing succeed. And if they're using some of my playbook, wonderful. I use some of their playbooks too. So, and we do what, in my opinion, you do what works for you. And it's all about trial and error. And really, the key is involving yourself, doing. A lot of people tend to talk or think. Stop. Just do it. There's nothing to lose. Just do it.
Just like Nike said.
That's right.
Another iconic brand, actually.
That's correct.
Okay, so this one is kind of like, there's a lot of people online that seem to share a lot that's not really related to their work and what they really like are showing online, like for example, your art. How do you how personal do you get with your brand? And how personal do you think people should get? I know it's kind of like to each person, they could answer that their own way, but what is your opinion on that?
You're absolutely right, Nicole. To each his own. However, I keep my personal life very much separate from my business and my brand. I would show and share a little bit of my personal life, because people also still want to know you. They still want to know the artist. They love your work, but people want to know more about the artist. They want to see behind the scenes. They want to see your life. They want to see what you're doing, how you're creating, what are you doing to find inspiration, where are you going? People want to see that, but nobody really wants to see if you may pass it tonight. Nobody cares about that. So I think oversharing is one of those things that I believe is important to the business. If it doesn't translate to converting a supporter into a client, then it's detrimental to the business. But however, to each his own. I'm also a person who believes the work should speak for itself, and it is more about the work than the celebrity of the artist. We've unfortunately, I do see this a lot, where people are more famous than their work. It's all about who they are, not really what they do and their craft. And they kind of run with that, which part of the industry likes that too. Me personally, I don't think that that's sustainable. I think it's all about what you're producing, and if you're a good person. And if you're a good person, it translates, right? But if you're putting on a persona online and that doesn't translate in person, people will tell, and the word spreads. It gets around. So to each his own. I believe if you want to be consistent with what you're doing and your brand, you want to be clear about what you're doing, you can share a little bit of your personal life so people get to know who you are as an artist, because people are intrigued about creatives and the creative experience. I share my trips when I go to France every year, because that's where I'm heavily inspired by. I share my creative process in the studio, but I don't share my personal life. I don't think anybody wants to know that such and such just happened, or I just did such and such. I don't think anyone cares too much about that. And funny enough, I've tested this for myself to see if it was something that I was probably missing out on. And I did share some personal stuff. People were like, we don't care. The numbers speak for themselves. So you would see your engagement drop because people just don't care. They want to see other things that are more related to the brand and to art. So for me, I stick to that clear, consistent theme and message.
Did you lose followers at that time too? Or was it just like the engagement was a bit lower for you?
It was just the engagement.
Okay.
Because I think people are forgiving. They would just be not interested.
Right.
But they'll still follow. Because they love, if a person loves what you do and they're following you, they'll no matter what, they'll follow you. But they'll show you true engagement that they don't care. You would see the engagement drop, and engagement is a huge part of it. That's why I tell a lot of people, it's not about quantity of followers, it's about a quality of your followers. So you can have 50,000, 100,000 followers, but if that doesn't translate to engagement, it's nothing. If that doesn't translate to sales, it's nothing. If that doesn't translate to people coming out to your shows or your exhibit, it is nothing. it's just a number. It's a vanity metrics that people chase. And I think it's important that we all rid ourselves of that mentality and focus heavily on genuine quality engagement, quality numbers with clients. If you have 10,000 followers and 8,000 or 5,000 of them are hardcore and show up and buy every single time, you can make a career you can make top dollar every year. Easy, easy, and those people will bring other people. But if you have 50,000 followers and 200 of them are the ones that are really engaging with you, is that really worth it? No, it's not. It's just a number. So there's the illusion that, oh wow, you're big, you're famous. It's like, but does that really translate to you selling work, or those people throwing the support behind you and helping you grow your creative practice? And so for me, it's all about quality over quantity.
Yeah, for sure. Like I've noticed that a lot, especially on YouTube. There's some really big like artists on YouTube, but then their engagement is always like low. And then you see these smaller like YouTube artists and they're like selling all their work. They're super successful. They get all these comments and likes. So I totally agree about that. Like followers, now it's more like, that's cool.
Yeah.
But what does your engagement look like?
That's right. Quality supporters mean more.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why, because I have a mailing list, like I'm sure everyone of the single artist in here has, and I do my best to continuously grow that mailing list. And I speak with those subscribers, not too much, but just the right amount every year to let them know everything that I'm doing, but not just to talk, but to make sure they know everything that I'm doing. And they come out for everything. They support everything that I do. And it translates. So I'll share this with you. When I did a collaboration, I'm sure some of you might have heard about this, with Roots Canada. We put together a collection for Black History Month this year. And when it was being put together, I remember someone in the company saying, we're not quite sure this is going to really translate the way you think it is. And I said, watch. And the reason I said watch, because I know the way my supporters are. They are hardcore. They support. And that's because it's taken years and years to build that relationship. And once we released the collaboration, within 24 hours, it sold out. Even the company was shocked. They've never really had a collaboration except it was The Weeknd or Drake sell out that fast. Even with other large collections that they do, they don't even have that volume sell out that quickly. And I remember getting a call, and they were like, "This is amazing! Like your supporters are hardcore," and they are hardcore because they started complaining. We want more. Like you need to release more. We want to buy. Take our money. And to the point where the company had to do a limited one-time restock, which it was a limited edition collection. And so that's what I'm talking about. It's not about how many. I don't have 100,000 followers. However, I do have followers that are very hardcore. They're huge supporters, and these are quality supporters. And once you build on that relationship over time, it translates into revenue for your business.
Yeah, that's so cool. I would definitely buy your stuff over The Weeknd and Drake any day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we're cutting it kind of close here. So I'll ask like one of the most important questions. What would your top 3 tips for success of branding yourself be?
Can I interrupt for 1 second, Nicole?
Yeah.
Because I would love Benny to talk a little bit about his corporate branding relationships and how he chooses those to kind of fit within his own brand.
Yeah, I think that's good too. I like that.
Absolutely. Thanks for that question, Kate. So one thing I try to do each year is collaborate with corporate brands and build unique products that speak to the themes in my work. and the values that I have. And I always love to team up and partner with companies that share the same values that I do. And since we're speaking, I spoke about Roots. I think I'll focus on that. Roots is, before we decided to collaborate, I have always wanted to work with them because they're an iconic Canadian brand, and also because the company is a female-led company, with a very significant amount of women in executive positions. And my work focuses on female empowerment and allyship, female representation. So what I wanted to, when they reached out and we started our talks, I was very happy that we were able to come together to put out a product that is meaningful, which was fearless, was the main theme of the work, being fearless and walking through life fearlessly, regardless of the obstacles that might be in your way. And this applies to anybody, especially women. And one thing I always wanted to do is create something that is meaningful, and that transit and people can wear with pride, especially when it comes to fashion. And Roots was just that company to work with. And I remember giving a talk prior to the collection drop-in, and speaking about as men, our role in the fight for not just gender equality, but also equity, and the importance of men standing up and speaking and standing side by side, being really true allies in the fight. And that's to see the response from not just the employees at Roots, but the people, the fans and the supporters who bought the work. It was incredible. So I'm very careful about who I do business with, because that is also something that speaks volumes with your brand. And it's not about money, because money will always come. There's always going to be money. And it's not about just taking the first thing that comes into your lap. You have to be careful about where you're putting your work, and what your work says, and who your relationships, who you do business with, speaks volumes. So people will remember that and recognize that. So, Roots is a perfect example. Also, I've done work with IKEA. I'm currently doing work right now with Old Navy. And these are all specific brands that have that same values that I personally have with my business. So it goes hand in hand. And I think it's important that as artists, these relationships allow us to grow and expand our exposure. There are people that discovered my work through the relationship with Roots that have been introduced to my work now and have now become supporters, and also clients and buyers and collectors. So it's very important to recognize what your messaging is and what message the world and the public is receiving from you.
And did you approach them, or did they find you and approach you?
So they did approach me, and this was because of my relationship with another individual. So that's why I mentioned it's all about your relationships with people. This comes back to the question Nicole mentioned about networking. The individual was someone I met through a networking event, who was very fascinated with my work and thought he worked at Roots and thought that would be a great fit. And I said, let's have a discussion about it. I'm definitely open to the idea. Let's see how that works. But in general, Roots was already a company that I already wanted to work with. So they were already on my list of companies and brands that I felt were important to collaborate with. So once that happened, I believe that was just faith putting us together in the same room at the same time. And like I mentioned, it was right place, right time. If I wasn't at that event networking, that would never have happened.
So what's your next biggest brand you want to work with? What would you say that would be?
Currently, right now, is Old Navy US. So Old Navy, I signed a deal with Old Navy, and we're putting out a collection that will be released in the fall. So it's actually already been done. It's just going through the pipelines right now.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes, it is. It's very exciting because it targets the U.S. market, which is a huge market for me also as an artist, and also targets a certain demographic financially. So the Roots collaboration was on the high end when it comes to purchase wise, and the Old Navy is on the lower end. So everyone, no matter who they are, can get their hands on it, because it's important to cater to the community that you serve and not cater to just people that can't afford thousands of dollars or for a jacket or 200 and some dollars for a sweater, but also kids. There was a mom I saw that actually not saw, I met at the Artist Project, where I also met Kate this year. And she came by and said, "Hi, Benny, I want to introduce my daughter, Olivia, who is 8 years old and learned about you at school during Black History Month. And she wants to know if there's ever going to be any kids outfit." And I was so proud to let her know that the Old Navy collection will be catered also to as kids. So this way she can wear it with pride. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but right here is actually Olivia's painting she did for me. So I hang it in my studio to remind me of Olivia, because I know she's going to be a very interesting, creative when she gets older.
That's so cute. I love it. Did you get her to sign it too?
Oh, she signed it.
Oh,
Absolutely.
nice.
She signed it. Yeah. So we did an exchange. She gave me this, and I sent her a nice painting for her room, so she can always wake up each day and see the beauty in who she is.
Aw, that's awesome. I love that.
Thank you.
And usually for these like brand deals and stuff, how long do you work with the brand for?
For me, it's on a project by project. So sometimes you might work with a brand. It's good for the exposure, but it's not good for your pocket. So in the sense that depending on who you are, depending on what the project might be, it might not be necessarily fruitful financially. However, you get the exposure is actually much beneficial than whatever the licensing agreement or royalties might be. But it's a case by case. It's a project by project. So if a project is really successful, then we could talk about working on a different project at a later date. So Roots, there's something in the pipeline for later on, and I'd also with IKEA, there was something in the pipeline for later on, but it's currently right now on hold due to what's happening in Europe with Ukraine. So we're just going to hold on that for now. But it's all project by project.
Very cool. Sounds super fun.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And Kate, was there any questions in the chat that you wanted to go over? We're after 8 now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There was one quick question about whether or not, at what point did you decide to make prints of your work?
Oh, that's a very good question. From the beginning, from the very start. I think the print business is where a lot of revenue for me comes from. I'll say about 75% of my revenue comes from prints. I literally make my bread and butter of prints. That is one thing that I actually advise every single artist to basically learn, whether it's open run prints, whether it's limited edition prints, whatever you do, you should make prints of your work and sell them. That is how you continually get paid. I have prints of work that I did in 2015 that actually last year was the #1 prints that I sold. So
oh, sorry. Do you sell them through your own website, or do you work with a company to manage that for you, or how do you manage that with your business?
So I do sell mainly through my website. However, what I've done now is I have handpicked specific galleries, one in New York, one here in Toronto, and a website where we signed specific consignment agreements to sell my prints exclusively through them. They don't represent me. They just sell the prints. And that's to see if they can expand my reach, one, and two, if they can increase the revenue. So if they can, that's great. If they can't, then that relationship ends. And most of them are always on a 6-month trial period. And if they are successful with selling the the agreed upon amount, then we can continue. If not, then the relationship ends because it's not fruitful.
So you give them a revenue target that you expect them to hit then?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with everybody. I didn't go to school for art. I do not have representation. I have never had representation. So this can be done by anybody with just really researching it, putting yourself out there, putting it into work, and yeah, this can be done.
But you obviously get a kick out of that part of it. Obviously, you enjoy doing the work, but it seems to me that you also really enjoy trying to figure out the puzzle of all of these different challenges too. Like just so that's also
absolutely
turns your crank, I think.
yeah, absolutely. It's something I love, and that's something I've been lucky enough and blessed now that the business is doing very well. I'm able to hire people and have an assistant that I'll be able to sit down and really brainstorm with other people and hear from other people what they think about ideas that I come up with, and not just by myself. But I'm privileged enough to have that opportunity too. Prior to that, it was basically me and my wife, and she was my sounding board. She's still my sounding board to today. But and I also have a great network of other artists, friends that I talk with, and we talk shop all the time. And so getting a good network and a good community around you is very, very important.
Excellent. Sorry,
Yeah.
Nicole, I think you asked Benny a question. I interrupted you.
I just want to add one more thing to the prints.
Please do.
How you package your prints is very, very, very important to your brand. Also, the branding of your packaging should reflect you and on your business. If I buy a print from someone and it's just wrapped and just put into a tube and shipped to me, that tells me something about their business and who they are. You have to take the time to make sure that you package your prints properly, that say you're a serious artist and you're running a serious business. So it's important to sell prints, but it's important to make sure that the prints you're selling are also packaged properly. And there's lots of tools online that you can use to get stickers or proper shipping or packaging papers and tools and materials that you need. But make sure it's packaged properly. These little things are very important. The unboxing of your work is key. It's so important.
Well, I guess the other thing too is it makes that piece seem really precious to someone who's bought it, even though it's not an original. For them, that still has been an investment.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So did you get like a graphic designer to like do all these things, like your stickers? I guess you do thank you notes too, probably, or did you just come up with them yourself?
Myself. So I believe it's on Uline, you can get stickers. It could just be your name and your website, and make sure it's wrapped properly, and use those stickers to basically put everything together, package it nicely. And I have a little a note that basically tells you, thanks you for purchasing the work and making that investment in buying a print, but also how to care for the print. Because a lot of people that are buying your work are first-time collectors or new collectors. They might not be veterans or have a large collection. So it's very important to educate them on how to handle the print so they also has longevity. And also the quality of the paper you use is very important. Don't skim out on quality. Clients can tell. If I purchase a print and it looks like a poster, trust me, I'm going to be very upset. And that translates to other people. So, if your work, the feel and touch of your work has to speak for itself also.
Would you recommend any printers in the city to people, or is this
no, because there are a ton of printers in the city that offer great rates, and whatever works for you, where you can get a good deal. My own thing is this: make sure that your margin of profit is good. That's it. Don't spend, if you're spending too much on making a print and you're not making that much money, it's not sustainable. You need to make sure that your margin of profit is significant. Anything above 65% for me is where I look at.
I guess the other thing that's super important too is obviously start with really great quality images, which for some people is a real barrier to
Exactly.
doing prints.
That's right. If I can't get a high quality image, I do not make prints. There's a painting that I tried and I've had photographed about 3 times and they still can't get it right. And I refuse to release that because that quality, if a collector that owns a previous work puts it side by side with your new piece and they don't look the same, trust me, you're going to hear back from them and they'll want a refund. So make sure that there is consistency across the board. And you would literally be so happy that you decided to sell prints.
So you invest in a photographer to take pictures of your work, right?
Yes, I do. And I support local Toronto photographers in the city that can capture the work. Yes.
Cool. Okay. That's good to know. So I was wondering why my photos never looked so good as like other people's prints. And now I know the answer.
I use several friends. One of them, he did a couple, didn't look right. I said, no, thank you. I'll still support you, but not for this. and I was referred to another photographer who is phenomenal, Stephen Wynn, and he captures my work and he does a great job. So for me, I stick with him because he knows how to capture my work. And the same thing with framing. I don't do any framing myself. I refer clients to frame shops that have framed my work and understand how to frame my work and are good at framing and offer clients good deals. And that's supporting local business. And I think we all need to do our part in supporting each other as local businesses and small businesses within Canada specifically.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Somebody here too, Stephanie McLean says she'd like to relay a Benny story. So maybe we can give you a couple of minutes, Stephanie.
Yeah, okay. Hi, Benny. How are you?
Hey, Stephanie, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
Wonderful. You're on here.
I know. So I did this course on how to sell your art online last March. And it was, just before I started to sell my art. When I completed the course, I had built, my website and stuff. And I thought, okay, well, oh my gosh, I need to speak to someone in the business. I need to know how to sort of wrap my head around this. And so I didn't call him, sorry. I DM'd this one artist who was also doing portraits and I didn't hear back. And I was like, okay, well, I DM'd him in French. I'm half French and he's French Canadian. So I thought, I kind of maybe try to get him to DM me back on that level, but he never did. And I thought, oh, okay. I even tried again. I followed up. Like, okay, well, maybe I'll try Benny Bing. He does portraits. And I thought, well, okay, what the heck, right? I'll just DM him. He'll probably not DM me back, but who knows? Sure enough, he DMs me back and he says, well, what's your phone number? And it was nothing like that. So I give him my phone number and I don't know, about a week later or so, he gives me a call and spends more than an hour on the phone with me, like giving me all these amazing, just all this information that I was downloading and writing down frantically about, how to approach galleries, what kind of deals to accept and not to accept, stuff that, is helping me now, but that at that time I thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could get in a gallery at some point? And and just so much great advice, even advice on how to deal with my friends who weren't supporting me in my art journey, kind of thing. It's just I'm forever grateful for that phone call. So thanks, Benny.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It was a pleasure of mine, and to see where you are now. And I remember when I came by the Riverdale Art Walk and to see you, it brought so much. It's a big smile to my face. You don't even understand. I'm so happy for you, and I know this is just the beginning. So keep at it. Keep at it.
Thanks, Benny, and congratulations on Sasha again.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I think that's another really good point too, is that there's a lot of artists out there who are totally willing to spend the time if you're respectful of their time and reach out and see what happens, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think we're almost out of time. I think it was just somebody asked what, if you can answer the top 3 recommendations for building a brand, I think just sort of super concisely.
Oh, top 3. Choose 2 social media platforms and double down on them. That's 1. 2, your human interaction, customer service, your authenticity, translates. That's huge. Quality over quantity, walk the walk, be the same person you are as you are offline as you are online. Know your audience and your niche and stick to that. That's actually more than three. But
Just over generous.
those are all of them that I will mention. But I also want to mention two books that I think everyone should read. And not just in general in regards to branding. The Brand Gap by Marty Neumeier. And also Building Strong Brands by David Aker. These are two books that I recommend everyone should read, regardless of what business you're in, if you want to brand your business. These are two very important books that you should read. But of course, there are a lot of books out there. There are a lot of podcasts out there in regards to branding, in regards to your creative practice. I listen to a lot of podcasts. One I will highly recommend is Talking with Artists. Is by an Australian podcast. I find it very interesting. She interviews a lot of different artists and Archibald Prize winners. So that's something I listen to when I paint. And I've learned so much from these podcasts, and we can all learn from each other. So these are some of the nuggets I will pass on to everyone.
Thank you. Nicole, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, no, I think you went over everything, gave us a lot of info. So thank you so much. It was really fun to hear from you.
Pleasure. It's been fun. I really appreciate sharing and talking about my journey and what I do in my business in regards to branding. It's a great opportunity to be on here with the Artist Network. Thank you guys very much for having me. And if anybody, if you see me out there, please don't hesitate, stop me. I love to chat, as you can see.
Sorry. Go on.
No, that's it. That was it.
I was gonna ask you if you wanted to like plug anything. Do you have any events coming up? Anything you want to share?
Absolutely. So I did a mural at the corner of Logan and Queen Street East here in Toronto to support the local businesses within the community. So we're doing a block party / mural unveiling on July the 9th. It is free, open to the public. There's going to be lots of activities for kids, especially art activities. There's going to be lots of vendors and local businesses. It'll be great for everyone to come out, support, and let's fall back in love with our community. We've been locked in for too long due to COVID. It's time to come back outside and fall in love with our streetscapes and cityscapes and support local business.
Yep.
So
Thank
July
you so
9th,
much.
Logan and Queen.
Logan and Queen, I put it in the chat.
I'll be there.
Noon to
I just
6
wanted-
p.m.
I just wanted to really thank Nicole as well for doing an awesome job being the moderator for this, and the whole education team that's kind of really works a lot behind the scene. And I have to say, Benny, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, not only for your business knowledge, but about just like, I love the fact that being a good person is such a key part of your brand and of who you are and being authentic. And I think that's just, it comes through so beautifully. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Nicole. This has been a pleasure. I'm so happy I did this.
I'm happy
Excellent.
too. Such a cool guy. So yeah,
Okay.
we'll let you go. I know you're a busy man these
Yes,
days.
I'm gonna run. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Take care,
thanks a lot.
everyone, and be well.
Yeah,
You
thank
too.
you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. And thanks so much for everyone for joining us. And really, really appreciate it. And, obviously stay in tune to find out. I don't remember what our next education session is, but I'm sure it will be awesome.
I think it has to do with selling your work. Maybe online,
That's September, I think.
person.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there isn't any for July.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, you have to go to the website and figure it out because obviously the education team doesn't